It's November 2024, which means that it is time for another entry in the 5 films you should watch series. I'm going to bring up 5 films today that I think everybody should watch, especially throughout the month of November. These could be films that you've heard of before, films you've never heard of before, films that are good, bad, or indifferent. Ultimately, it is just some films that I like that I personally think everybody should see. Without further ado, I'm Josh from Just Mash. Let's figure it out. Criterion Spotlight. The Big Chill. If you've watched the videos, you know by now what Criterion is, but for the people that don't, Criterion is a physical media distribution company that releases old and new films on Blu-ray, DVD, and 4K. They make some of the best physical media editions that are on the market currently, with some really incredible special features and really cool booklets with essays from famous writers. The Big Chill is a 1983 film directed by Lawrence Kasdan, starring Tom Berenger, Glenn Close, Jeff Goldblum, William Hurt, Kevin Kline, Mary Kay Place, Meg Tilly, and JoBeth Williams. The film is about a group of old friends from college reuniting after the death of one of their own. The film is very confrontational about the way that people react when thrown back into situations from their past. It's kind of a discussion piece about the way that people grow and change over time, but kind of revert to who they were when they're around old friends or old settings. It's a very human emotion to try and hold on to who you used to be and reject what you've become, but it's something that everybody has to go through, and this film kind of analyzes that through all these different characters in different places in their lives. It's a really emotional film that makes you consider your own thoughts and actions in your own past and history with other people. It's a film that really does not pull any punches with the setting or the interactions between characters, ultimately because the main plot of the movie revolves around a dead friend, so all of these people are kind of in these hyper-emotional states with really charged interactions between each other. It's not necessarily a Thanksgiving film, but it feels kind of reminiscent of that feeling because it's about a group of old friends reuniting together, staying together for a weekend. It kind of touches on those same things that a lot of Thanksgiving films do, with families reuniting and the conflict that happens. The Last Party. The Last Party is a 1993 documentary film directed by Mark Benjamin and Mark Levin, following Robert Downey Jr. go on a tour across the country during the 1992 presidential election as he interviews everyday Americans about their politics. It is a political film, but it is not a political film that tries to take a stance on any sort of specific issues. It's not a Democrats versus Republicans type of thing. You can enjoy the film as either one. Ultimately, it's a film that sort of analyzes the conversations that are had in politics between everyday people and how those conversations change and how they actually don't change. Robert Downey Jr. approaches a lot of these issues with grace and a sort of unbiased presence as he just kind of lets people explain their thoughts and beliefs in different parts of the country. He also kind of does so while analyzing his career and his father, Robert Downey Sr.'s career as a filmmaker. It was interesting to watch because it's one of those films that obviously it's from the 92 election, so you expect it to be kind of dated, but it's kind of crazy how modern it feels and how not much has actually changed in the way that we talk to each other and about each other when it comes to politics. Anomalisa. Anomalisa is a 2015 stop-motion animated film directed by Charlie Kaufman and Duke Johnson. The film stars David Thewlis, Jennifer Jason Leigh, and Tom Noonan. The film is about an inspirational speaker who has kind of lost his will to live until he meets a woman who reinvigorates his spark for life. The film is written by Charlie Kaufman, who wrote Adaptation, I'm Thinking of Ending Things, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, among many other films. I personally think that Charlie Kaufman is the greatest science fiction writer of all time when it comes specifically to drama in the subcategory. The way that he's able to analyze romance and the human element of things within the sci-fi genre, I think, is truly incredible and not done really by anybody else in the way that he's done it. This film is incredibly emotional. It is one that absolutely emotionally devastated me the first time I watched it, so much so that I had to watch it 2 more times within the next 24 hours. The performances are spectacular. David Thewlis just does an incredible job with the lead role. Jennifer Jason Leigh grounds the whole thing with her sort of emotional performance, and Tom Noonan does a really wild thing where he performs every other character in the film. There's a lot of weird, unpredictable elements of the plot, so I don't necessarily want to say anything else about the film, but what I will say is that it is an animated film that uses its medium to tell its story. By that I mean it's not just a film that's animated and that's the end of it. It is a film that uses the medium of animation to actually influence elements of the story and character appearances to kind of give you the emotion that you're supposed to have for those specific scenes. While not one of the 5 films I'm recommending this month, if you do like this film, there's a great making of documentary called None of Them Are You, the making of Anomalisa, that you should also check out. First Reformed. First Reformed is a 2017 Paul Schrader film starring Ethan Hawke and Amanda Seyfried. The film is about a small-town minister whose life is kind of thrown into turmoil as he goes deeper and deeper into insanity when faced with the despair of environmental destruction. There is a really great sense of looming dread throughout the film that is really supported by Ethan Hawke's sort of subdued performance. As someone who grew up in the Catholic Church, there's usually a lot of despair in that sort of setting, and also just this overwhelming sense of dread, and I think that this film really touches on the dark side of religious and religious fanaticism, especially concerning a role like a minister, someone who does feel the weight of what they're supposed to do and kind of feels a responsibility to the world and to the people in their congregation. I think Ethan Hawke does a really good job of portraying that sort of cynicism and ultimate sort of destruction that we're all headed towards. A Ghost Story. A Ghost Story is a 2017 film directed by David Lowery, starring Casey Affleck and Rooney Mara. The film follows a recently deceased man who has just passed on to the afterlife as a ghost and watches him view the world after he's gone. This film is a brutally honest and emotional look at the absence of life in other people's existences and what happens sort of when you move on. It's really sort of both a touching tribute to humanity and a look at the fleeting glimpse of time that we actually get to spend on the earth as a human being. The film plays a lot with sort of metaphysical theory and a lot of things, the way that time passes and sort of what the idea or experience of being a ghost could be, both from the perspective of the ghost and from the perspective of the humans experiencing the paranormal situations. There is great suspense and horror vibes to it, but it's not exactly a horror movie. I would say it is a lot more in line with drama and sci-fi than it is horror, but it could be kind of scary in some scenes. On top of that, the dialogue is awesome. The acting is super emotional. The cinematography is great. It's really a unique film that you haven't really seen much of in the filmmaking sphere. Those are the 5 films that I think everybody should watch in November 2024. Let me know in the comments below if you've seen any of those films, if you like them, if you hate them, whatever's fine. I will be making a list on Letterboxd with all the films that I've recommended before, so get on Letterboxd, check those out, let us know your thoughts on those, leave your reviews. Please subscribe to the channel if you like what we do here. It would help us out a lot. And I've been Josh from Just Mash. Until next time.